Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Hearthstone Rise of Shadows is rapidly approaching, in fact it should be here within 1 hour. And I've been doing a lot of theorycrafting for the new expansion, but there's one aspect that I have not touched upon yet, because I've been a little bit reluctant to touch it before the cards are actually playable, and that's budget decks. I have not forgotten the budget aspects of Hearthstone by any means, it's just that budget decks are best built at least around 2 weeks into the new meta, because you need to have a meta in order to build good budget decks, because you really need to get everything out of the cards that you have available in order to make budget decks very successful. And you can't do that until you know what exactly you're doing. And also crafting budget decks, and if they're all wrong and people spend their little dust to craft those, then that kind of feels bad, so I would like to get a bit more established meta before going too deep into budget decks. That said, I just wanted to let you know that I have not forgotten about them, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what Rise of Shadows is going to bring to budget players, as well as a few theory crafts of what kind of budget decks we might be seeing in the new expansion. But these are untested, so I cannot recommend you to craft them yet. So far it looks to me like the strongest budget card that's coming with the new expansion is this one, the Hench Clan Hogsteed. 2 mana 2/1 rush, death rattle summon a 1/1 Murloc. That's a great 2-drop, and it's a common, so it's definitely going to see play in many budget decks. Unless Hunger Grab becomes the deck card of choice, and then everyone is just going to eat your Murloc, and that's going to feel bad, so we'll have to wait and see a little bit about that one too. But in a vacuum, this card is probably the strongest budget card in the set. But there are also some other interesting cards, like Proud Defender, the new Tar Creeper, if you will, 4 mana 2/6 taunt, plus 2 attack while you have no other minions, pretty powerful card. And then there are a couple of cards that I have not really figured out how to put in a deck, but there will be budget decks around these, I believe. One of them is Soul of the Murloc, and this card is incredibly powerful. 2 mana, give your minions death rattle, summon a 1/1 Murloc. It's a common. You can't really build a Murloc deck without Murloc War Leaders, and those are epics. But set that aside, just don't think of them as Murlocs. Think of these minions as just tokens. And then you can see that you can build some kind of a token shaman, and you put in Soul of the Murloc, you can put in Bloodlust. I have not built that yet, but I think there will be a budget token shaman with Bloodlust, thanks to this card. And another interesting one is this one, the Exotic Mount Seller. Whenever you cast a spell, summon a random 3-cost beast. So you don't have Archmage and Tonidas if you're a budget player, it's a legendary card. But this can serve a similar role in some kind of a token druid or some kind of a tempo mage deck. A curve topper that then you unleash your cheap spells and you get a bunch of 3-drops. I think there will be a viable budget decks built around this card as well. And this is one card that I really like, the Safe card. 6 mana 4/5 mech, taunt, death rattle, summon a 0/5 Vault Safe with taunt. Especially powerful with magnetic stuff. And we still have the War Gears and the Replicating Menaces, even though Ziliax is a legendary. But there's still other magnetic mech cards around, and this might also find a place. So even though we lost a lot, we're also getting a bunch of pretty interesting cards for budget decks. And I actually theorycrafted a few budget decks, so let's go take a look at what kind of budget decks we might see in Rise of Shadows. This is actually not even my budget build, this is my full theorycraft build of Silence Priest. Because Silence Priest looks like it's going to be the cheapest archetype around. I'm not sure how powerful it's going to be, we have to find that out, but that costs Silence Priest, and it's a budget deck, it doesn't have anything expensive in it. There's of course still some questions on how to build this exactly. Some people are using Shadow Madness, so that they have another way to activate their combo without having a minion. I was debating for a long time between Faceless Rager and Injured Blade Master, so what exactly goes where? It will take a while to sort out the build, but whatever the build is going to be, Silence Priest looks like it's going to be pretty inexpensive. Secret Paladin is also getting a lot of support. Obviously it's getting the new legendary minion, which is not present in this budget build, but there's also a lot of pretty cheap stuff. Because Desperate Measures, that's a rare, Never Surrender, that's a common, Mysterious Blade, that's a rare, Sunriver Spy, that's a common. A lot of new cards that are either commons or rares that support the Secret Paladin archetype. But without the new legendary, without Leroy Jenkins, how strong can you build it? I'm a little bit skeptical, but Something like this would be the first thing that I would try if I only had access to these cheaper cards. Rogue is also getting some really interesting tempo tools that are very budget friendly, because there's the Underbelly Fence, which is a rare, and there's Vendetta, which is a rare, and the Hench Clan Burglar, which is a common. So trying to use these Thief Rogue cards, but of course you don't have access to Academic Espionage, that's an epic. So without that, then you kind of have to go for a bit more tempo-based route, but you still have a bunch of these stealing synergies here because of the Burglar, and then there's Blink Fox and there's Pilfer from previous expansions. So maybe something like this one could work out. There will be several ways to build Zoo decks. You can build those new Demon Zoo types, although they don't look that strong to be honest. And you can just play something like a Mech Zoo. Scarabex with Grim Rallies. As for the new cards, this is a bit thin on that side. There's the Hench Clan Hogsteed and there's the Evil Genius. Both of them are extremely good Zoo cards. Of course, this sort of budget list is missing the Sea Giants. Sea Giants would be nice to have here, but this could still get you somewhere. Another budget archetype that never goes out of fashion is Midrange Hunter. And Midrange Hunter is getting a couple of new tools. You can use Shimmerfly, a new rare 1-drop, Hench Clan Hogsteed once again. And I'm thinking of trying with Unleash the Beast over 7 high main in a budget build. Because budget build in general needs to try to be pretty fast. You have to kill your opponent fairly quickly because you don't have value to go for a longer game. So Unleash the Beast with that Rush Wyvern that it summons might be able to clear out some way for you so that you can then keep pushing with your other minions. No Master's Call in this one, it's an epic, but not using Master's Call opens up the way to use Houndmaster, so while they Master's Call you just Houndmaster your tortoise and go face. Finally, some kind of token druid is probably going to be able to be built on a budget. Hench Clan Hogsteed, great card for that. Acorn Bearer, wonderful card for token builds. Dreamway Guardians, another wonderful new card for token builds. Maybe even Blessing of Ancients. But what kind of token druid can you build on a budget? This is now some kind of an attempt at an egg druid. This sort of fairly aggressive, fairly quick variant of token druid. But I'm not certain whether this is the right path. I had a lot of trouble making egg druid work in Rastakhan, so I'm a little bit skeptical about it. Maybe you could try with more regular token builds. So this is the most unrefined of these budget ideas that I had going on here. But just to remind you that some kind of token druid can almost certainly be built on a budget in Rise of Shadows. So while we need to wait for the meta to stabilize a little bit before we can actually build the real budget decks that you can play all the way to Legend, it looks like there will be quite a few archetypes that you can probably build on a budget in Rise of Shadows. And in a couple of weeks I will start building the decks for real. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.